This is Louis Berrigan. I am presenting on behalf of Group 2, which includes myself, Andrea Askins, Chanel Weatherall, Jasmine Carter, Joseph Simmons, Elizabeth Johnson, Christina Jacques, and I listed everyone. Yes. Okay. So we collaborated and worked together with Autism Speaks. Just to start things off, talking about our group formation, basically we wanted to make sure that we were putting together a good team that was going to work well together. The thing that, worked best for us was that we used the discussion board from our introductory videos. We saw that, the people who were uploading quickly, who really wanted to work hard and fast and get things done in this class, were more than likely going to be the ones who were posting very immediately on the discussion board. So Andrea reached out to Chanel and Elizabeth through the introductory video. And then Andrea also noticed that Jasmine was in the class. Actually, Andrea, Jasmine, and myself worked together before in a previous class last semester. So we knew that we worked well together, and Andrea decided to reach out to Jasmine. Then I saw that group was all communicating, and I said, you know what? I know Andrea and I know Jasmine. Let me see if I can join. So I joined in with them. Christina also joined. She was one of the first people to post on the discussion board. And then we kind of reached out to Joseph. Mark, actually, is what he goes by. And we realized that he would be a good team member as well. We actually didn't realize that he was part of the group for a couple of weeks, though. We didn't know that he had accepted until we saw that was, what the group was actually comprised of was 7 people. So basically, we were able to identify, who was going to work well together, what our common goals were, and that allowed us to start bonding pretty quickly with the group. We started getting to know each other, learning about each other's backgrounds, and we realized that we were all very comfortable communicating with each other. So we started a group text, which would eventually become a Facebook Messenger thread. So choosing roles. This was one of the first things that we jumped into after we formed the group. And we went about it by proposing our strengths and our weaknesses. For instance, I talked about creating polls in the Facebook Messenger to make it easier to make decisions. I had mentioned maybe making a Google Documents slideshow so that we could all collaborate. So that showed that I was interested in technology and I was good with technology. Chanel and Elizabeth were both very comfortable with social media and outreach. Andrea was comfortable communicating with people from the organization. So that was how we went about choosing roles to begin with. We decided to take a step further, though, because, we had started to study from the book and we learned more about roles based on the, Belbin roles. And Andrea actually provided us with this amazing Belbin roles test that allowed us to assign values to statements regarding, communication styles, our group dynamics. And so this next slide is actually a little screenshot of one of the slides on the presentation or on the test. So basically what it is a series of statements, and you're given 10 points, and you can assign these statements with values. So you can use as much or as little as you want to on any given statement, but you have to use all 10 points. So, first, I think I can quickly see and take advantage of opportunities. I say that might be a 2 out of 10 for me. So I assign those 2 points. Once you've used all your points, you move on. There was a series of, this is just one page of 9 questions, but there was a series of pages that all had different focuses on communication and group dynamics, like I said. And once you were done, the test took all of those answers, all those point values, and decided or assigned which roles would be best suited for you. So we took the test, shared our results, and we used Andrea's guide. Obviously she had a guide for the test since it was developed for her company, but we also used the text to kind of better understand what those roles meant. It was awesome because we realized that our group had a really diverse range of results, but we covered pretty much every role in some way. Some of us were specialists, some of us were plants. We were all very good team workers. So, we were able to understand our personalities and how they fit those roles. But that didn't mean that we necessarily conformed strictly to those roles. We were all pretty versatile, and we all implemented ideas, we all specialized, we all monitored and evaluated, and we all worked very well together. So the next step was to create rules. We wanted to make sure that we were working dynamically and working well with each other. So we decided to kind of just coordinate with each other and figure out what needed to be done. So we realized that we all obviously wanted to work hard and efficiently and respectfully with each other. We realized that the text string that we were originally using might not be the best option. Some of us didn't like to use our phones to text. Some of us preferred keyboards. Some of us like to work from our desktops. So we decided to form a Facebook Messenger chat that would allow us to all not only communicate, but, with texting, we all had to obviously add new contacts and assign names to those contacts. With Facebook Messenger, everybody has their picture next to their messages. It makes it a lot easier to keep up with who's talking at any given time. From here, the next thing was our agreements that communication was the most important thing. We all wanted to be responsible for checking the group chat, so we decided to make a rule that we would all have to check it at least 3 times a week. But to be honest with you, most of us checked almost daily. We would talk to each other, and not even just about the project. Some days, if we were ahead of our schedule, we would just talk about what was going on in our lives, what was going on in our other classes, what was going on at work. We just kind of kept in contact with each other at all times. We all have very different schedules, obviously. So another rule that we established was having a window of chat hours so that we weren't bothering each other outside of those hours. We decided 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. would be the best option so that, we weren't bothering each other in after hours. So the other rule that we came up with was, the golden rule. We wanted to be respectful, kind. We wanted to show humility. We wanted to treat each other as we would like to be treated. We made all of these decisions so far by just honest communication as a group. We presented ideas and arguments for those ideas and then collaborated as a team to make sure that we all agreed on each decision. I included this little screenshot of our conversation because you could see, just how well we were getting along as a group. Every day we were talking about how we loved working together. Things were going so smoothly. We were all very happy with how things were moving, and it continued that way the entire group progress. So penalties in case any of these rules were broken. We weren't really too concerned with this portion, to be honest with you. We obviously knew that it had to be done, but I don't think any of us were concerned that we would have to implement any of these penalties because we knew that we were all going to work very hard and we were going to work well together. The first step was, going to be a really easy one. Basically, we would just kind of address any rule violations, make sure that the person committing the violation knew that they had, just talk about it a little bit, say, hey, for instance, if somebody's chatting outside of the 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. window, we say, hey, make sure that you keep it in that window, please. The next step would be a video chat or conference so that we could all kind of get together at one time. If we're all in the group chat talking at different times, we might not all be there at the same time. So doing a video chat would have given us the option to all talk at one time and make sure that we were addressing any problems that we had. Luckily, we never had to get to this stage, but it was an option that we presented. The last step would be contacting Professor Winfield. And basically, we're all adults. We can't punish each other, really. So we figured that if it got to the point where somebody just refused to work with the group, we would have to get our professor involved. But again, luckily it never got anywhere close to that point. So some differences within our group. Chapter 4 of the textbook discusses diversity, and it has this awesome chart on the 3 layers of diversity, which I really, really enjoyed. So we had a mix of, each of these layers of diversity represented in our group. For internal dimensions, obviously, we had different genders, ages, ethnicities. Internal dimensions, we had external dimensions. We had, different marital statuses. Some of us are single, some of us are married, some of us had kids, different political orientations, religion, geographic location. Obviously, the center of the three layers is personality. We all have very distinct personalities. But, luckily, none of the things like the major or the minor differences like, religion, politics, none of those really affected us. The biggest thing that affected us was the differences in our geographic locations, since we were spread out around Texas. Some of us are in Beaumont, some of us are in Conroe, some of us are in Houston, some of us are in Humble and Hoscasita. So that was the only real difference that made things difficult for us. But what we were able to do was kind of utilize those different locations. We reached out to different chapters, we reached out to different people in different cities, and this allowed us to create an even bigger network, as opposed to if we had just focused here in Houston on the Autism Speaks chapter here, on people affected by autism here in the city. So we were able to take what would have been a weakness, what would have been something difficult, and turn it into a strength by being able to create this awesome network. Some more differences, in chapter 4, they discuss personality dimensions. Obviously, we had different personalities, but most of us were extroverts. We weren't afraid to engage with each other. We weren't afraid to talk. If anything, I would say that maybe some of us were a little bit more, while we were comfortable communicating with each other, some of us were a little bit more hesitant about presenting our ideas. I think that there was a good mix of accommodation and compromise, which are discussed in chapter 8. We weren't trying to argue about things. We were comfortable presenting our ideas, but we also were comfortable accommodating and compromising because we knew that it was going to work to the benefit of the group. And that helped us decide on the course of action that we needed to take, and it worked out very well for us. We were able to not just recognize these differences in diversity and personalities and everything, but like I said, we even used those differences to create a stronger group, which was amazing, and I think just shows how well we all work together. So choosing an organization, basically what we did, like I said, I created a Facebook poll where we all kind of threw out ideas for organizations that would mean a lot to us. But what we realized quickly was that Autism Speaks was probably the best in terms of our relation. Everybody had a relationship with this organization in some way or another. Autism affects 1 in 59 children in the United States today. It's hard to find somebody who isn't affected by autism in some way or another. Maybe not being, not being an autistic individual yourself, but having a family member, a friend, something like that. And we wanted to represent and bring awareness to the organization because we want people to understand and have compassion for people with autism, or families who are affected by autism. No child is the same. And some might take the bar exam. Some are going to have help the rest of their lives. But we wanted to just bring awareness to the issue and know that not every person with autism is the same. We have this awesome quote here by Dr. Stephen Shore, who said, "If you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. You're not going to represent every person with autism based on the one person you've met." So Christina actually held an interview with a special program educating autistic kids teacher in Humble ISD, and this is just a snippet of why that person thought Autism Speaks is so important. So they said, "I think due to the increasing diagnosis of the condition that it's important for parents to know that no autistic child is the same, and there are resources and help that are available to them. They should not be scared to reach out and connect with other parents, doctors, therapists, etc. to be able to provide the best possible care and understanding for their children. Don't be scared of the label." So again, this was just kind of an example of how we felt that we could influence and inform the public about autism and about this amazing organization. So just a little overview of Autism Speaks that was pulled from their website. It was founded by Suzanne and Bob Wright, who have a grandson who was diagnosed with autism. They have helped in so many ways, including fundraising, spreading awareness, advocacy, providing family services. They've even introduced laws that help ensure financial security for people with disabilities, insurance reform for autism care. They've introduced World Autism Awareness Day, which was sanctioned by the United Nations. They've just done an incredible job in really helping a community out. They have chapters all over the country, from California to the East Coast, everywhere in between. You can basically reach out to any bigger chapter and find smaller chapters within that area. They provide so many ways for people to volunteer and get involved, which include donations, fundraisers, charity walks, advocacy campaigns, and they even partner with really big companies to kind of help spread awareness and even gain funds. So the impact that we hope to have, as we stated earlier, we knew that aligning with this group would help in a lot of ways. We wanted to spread awareness. We wanted to, let the public know about the value of the nonprofit. We wanted to use our social media campaign to spread awareness for the organization, but also for people with autism. We wanted to create a further sense of compassion in individuals and educate the public on the uniqueness of each individual with autism. We wanted to get more people involved with the organization and encourage participation in a variety of ways. But above all else, we wanted to show support for an organization that supports so many others and works so hard for their community. So connecting with the organization, we actually reached out in a lot of different ways. Andrea reached out to a connection of hers who works within the group. We had people calling, sending emails, and basically we were able to find out that one way that we could help was to spread awareness. We wanted to let people know about their services that include healthcare, diagnostic testing, therapy, occupational support, and we wanted to just really let people know who the organization was, what they do, and how important they are. The results of our small group collaboration was rewarding. Our Facebook page accrued close to 200 followers. We gained likes, shares, which, obviously reach other people who might not have even liked our page, but saw our page because of somebody else. We communicated daily as a small group to ensure that posts were effective and that deadlines were met. On top of that, our group, collaborating with the larger organization, we reached out to so many people, had so many interviews, talked to a lot of different people, and we learned a lot about the organization, ourselves, and we were able to spread that knowledge to new people. We identified areas for growth. We learned actually that they encourage the creation of chapters on college campuses. Unfortunately, I think most of us are graduating here in the next 2 months, so it probably wouldn't be responsible of us to create an organization that we would abandon a month later. But we learned that this was an option, and it was an awesome thing to learn, and we, a lot of us are considering taking it forward if we study anywhere else postgraduate. This is just a little picture, a screenshot of our page. It was called Autism Speaks Awareness. We were all moderators on it, so everybody had the option to post. We decided that just a few of us would focus on the posting. We wanted to make sure that, we didn't get too cluttered or overwhelmed. But I think that it was beautifully organized and did a great job of spreading information to everybody. So what worked and what didn't? The first tactic that we realized might not work was the way that we assigned our primary roles. Like I said, we kind of just evaluated each other's strengths and weaknesses and started throwing out roles, but that was before we really knew what needed to be done in the project. So once we took the Belbin Roles quiz, I analyzed those results in addition to the results of, what we originally had come up with. And then I started to think about what needed to be done for the project itself. And that's when I realized, okay, so for instance, I was a specialist. I mentioned that I was comfortable with technology, but how could that be used in this project specifically? And that's when we started to come up with more ideas like the social media campaign, the Facebook, the Google Docs, the polls, all that type of thing. What really worked well was our social media strategies. We created that Facebook page and it gave us an amazing platform to reach the public. We shared information as well as links to further reading, and we just were able to spread awareness on a larger scale. And I think we did really help out the organization with what we did. So what we accomplished, I am very, very proud of this group. I'm very proud of what we accomplished. We agreed on a nonprofit. We all felt very connected to the nonprofit. We reached out to the nonprofit, made connections with multiple people. We created this social media page, we spread awareness. We gained hundreds of likes and follows and shares and encouraged more participation. And we communicated efficiently and effectively. we made connections, we made deeper connections working with people who we've worked with before, and we created a presentation that we're all proud of. I can honestly say that we took each week as another opportunity to create an even stronger group. And I think that that's what we did. We worked hard together, we worked well together, and we really just created something that we were very proud of. So I gotta just thank every member of the group for all of the work that we've done, all the communication. I'm really glad that we got things done so well. So thank you guys. Here's just a little snip of all the team members. That's obviously not our real silhouettes, but we do look that cool in real life. And these are our resources. Luckily, the textbook and the Autism Speaks website were really all we needed. The textbook had so much good information, and the Autism Speaks website literally has everything you could ever wonder about the organization. So thank you, Professor Winfield. Thank you to my group. I'm really proud of us, and I'm glad that we got this done together.